Is there any decision about Apex that you've kind of made that you just keep postponing?
Stepping down from being CEO, I guess. Thought about doing that 10 years ago and I'm still here. I'm the first in the office every day. I send more emails than anyone else in the company every day. So
how does that make your employees feel? It's like a CEO working like...
I mean, Sanjay's looking pretty upset about that. But when I was, 33, 34, I didn't have the same sort of confidence that I owed it to myself to try and then see how good I could be. And then once you get on the journey, then you keep pushing the boundaries forward and forward and forward.
Jeff Bezos famously kind of said in one of the statements saying, there's a lot of overestimating risk and underestimating the opportunity.
No, I think in this game, you've got to be an optimist. That's first and foremost. If you've got to make 200 decisions a day, just make them. There is risk, you're aware of the risk, but you don't overanalyze the risk. You're aware of it, but you just focus on the opportunity. Be humble, be low-key, be driven, determined, and have a vision to set the sights as high as you can go. If you aim at mid-level and you miss, you're okay. But if you aim for the stars and you just miss, you've got an incredible journey.
I want to invite onto the stage my dear friend Balki Iyer, who's I don't know, sometimes I feel Balki is a total corporate guy. Sometimes I feel he's a total entrepreneur. Sometimes he's an amazing dad. And more than anything, he's a brother I've adopted from another mother, and he's going to take care of my retirement. That's the only way to think about Balki. And I'm really, really thrilled to have him in conversation with. He's going to talk a little bit more about Peter, but I've had a chance to have another new family member, Sanjay Vatsa. I had a long chat with him and got to know Peter indirectly. I know Apex Group was started in 2003, and it's a very important year for me because my son was born that year. So your company is as old as my son, and hopefully he'll be as successful as your company. And it's very rare to see somebody who started the company growing it into success and to be such a large company. So we'll have a conversation about that. I'm really thrilled to have Peter Hughes with us, and I'm going to have Balki and Peter have a conversation. Thank you very much.
First, let me just start by saying that we're super thrilled and honored to have you here. I mean, not just in this conference, but in this country. And I think your story and your entrepreneurial journey is just something to emulate. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to delve into who's the Peter behind this amazing story, right? But before we do that, I just want to say that Peter is probably one of the very, very rare breeds of entrepreneur CEO who's still standing after building this company in 13,000 people in 50 countries around the world, in a highly regulated financial industry where there's dog eats dog in New York City, and you kind of came in and grew that stuff, and you're still kind of not only fighting, but you're just succeeding. So first, a big congratulations to Peter for driving this amazing journey and amazing success in this company. So Peter, the topic of this one is mind and matter. So I did what everybody does when you listen to any topic. I did the whole thing and went to Google and said, what is mind? It says, mind is not matter. It says, what is matter? Never mind that. I said, okay, that's a great way to start. But I said, let me just ask you, because when you play any sport or anything that you do for a long period of time, stamina is super important, more than just energy. And when you think about stamina, mind plays a massive role. So I want to start there and say, what is it kind of to have, what is it about mind that applies to you? What do you think about it when you think about mind over matter in your own life, in your own journey in Apex?
First of all, another caveat is I'm very comfortable talking about Apex, the business, and what we do and how it's grown. Very uncomfortable talking about myself. So I'm very below the radar, and that's why most people don't know anything about me. But I will today. So in terms of mind and what's important, sure. I think the most important thing growing up anyway for me was to be competitive, whether it's about sports or anything else. And that then blends into business. And the fact that it's like you never give up. Mm-hmm. It's a determination. And I think my biggest attribute is actually what I would call grit, is I actually never be defeated, never not solve a problem, never go backwards, always take the step forward, always take the brave decision when you've got a choice. And I think it's that sort of fortitude. And it's also, not being afraid to fail. I think too many people are cautious when they're in businesses or worried about what their boss will think if they get it wrong. I'm encouraging people in Apex to make decisions, make quick decisions, and if they're wrong, we'll fix them. Not everyone can do that, but it's that bravery, I think, which is important.
So you hit an important word, grit, and I think that's a key one. There's an orthogonal dimension around grit that I want to talk to you about, which is purpose. I'm sure when you went through starting Apex, let's talk about Apex and say, what was the broader purpose? I mean, of course, you need grit all the way to carry it through, but what was kind of the motivation and the purpose that was kind of driving you to say, this is something that I need to solve through an entrepreneurship? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, before I started Apex, I was a CFO for a fund of funds business, so you're getting reporting from 30 other fund services like Goldman Sachs and the large service providers. But I didn't really feel that they cared about their clients. They cared about the big clients, but not the medium-sized and small clients. So that was my real opportunity, was to look after everyone to a high standard, because the small clients become medium clients and the medium clients become big clients. And that's really what the focus was, or the gap I saw was actually looking after every client to a high standard, because I didn't see that from the other providers when I started.
Got it. Okay. So when you talk about success, and we talk about redefining success, but there's got to be a definition of success to redefine that. Let's kind of go back to 2003 when you started this company. What was kind of success for you at that point in time? I mean, I'm sure there was financial success that was clearly there, but there was an element of something beyond finance that would have probably been defined by you at that point in time in terms of success. What did that look like at that point in time?
Yeah, I think when I was 33, 34, I didn't have the same sort of confidence. You want to see, well, actually, can I do this? Can I try it? Will I be any good at it? And I thought I owed it to myself to try and then see how good I could be. And then once you get on the journey, then you keep pushing the boundaries forward and forward and forward. And 21 years later, I'm still pushing them forward, and not looking back for a second. So it's not about what I've created or where I've come from. It's where can I take this business? And actually, as you say, purpose. Now I've got a big platform. How can I use that platform to make a difference?
Right.
And that's really the next phase of what I'm trying to think about. Is actually, it's great having a big global business, which is quite successful, but actually where do you give back, either internally or externally? And then how do you use that platform for good?
That's great. So Peter, I'm sure there's been a lot of lessons along the way, a lot of course corrections, but has there been kind of any defining moment where you said, oh, wait a minute, we were going east, we need to kind of go south, or we need to go west? Was there been any defining moments where you had to kind of say, look, I need to really redefine how we take the ship forward, and here's why? Can you kind of share a little bit of insight around that?
Yes, I've got a scruffy piece of paper, which was my business plan. It's like just one piece of paper. It's got Bermuda, where I'm based, and it's satellites everywhere else, because I wanted to be local to where the clients were. And I was competing against large institutions or firms connected to law firms or banks. What was my edge? I didn't have one. So my edge was to be close to the clients. You'd be friends with the clients. You'd be quicker to report, understand the cultures, and be local, whereas everyone else are trying to big centres in places. So it was a very contrarian model to say, well, actually, why have you got 30 offices you set up organically around the world? Why have you got an office in Dubai, and why have you got one in Abu Dhabi, an hour and a half drive away? That wasn't logical to people from the outside in, but that's really became our secret sauce, because then we could be agnostic as to where people wanted solutions.
Yeah. That's great, by the way. Thank you for kind of using that as your defining kind of moment to be closer to the customer, which I think, funny enough, a lot of people don't think about. Everybody talks about it, but people don't define their strategies around that, but I can see why you've done that. Jeff Bezos, who has been a big entrepreneur himself, famously kind of said in one of the statements saying, entrepreneurs tend to always overestimate risk and underestimate opportunity, which is actually counterintuitive, because as entrepreneurs, you tend to be more optimistic and whatever. But he says that there's a lot of overestimating risk and underestimating the opportunity. Have you had that type of situation in terms of defining how big Apex needs to be, and it turns out to be bigger than what you thought it is? Have you had that type of aha moment in your journey?
No, I think to be in this game, you've got to be an optimist. That's first and foremost. You've got to think you're going to succeed. You can't second guess yourself. You've got to make 200 decisions a day and just make them. They're not all going to be right, but you just got to be positive that you're actually going to get more right than wrong. So I would think about it the other way around. It's actually, yeah, there is risk. You're aware of the risk, but you don't overanalyze the risk. You're aware of it, but you just focus on the opportunity.
So you talked about 200 decisions, and I'm sure you're probably making a lot more than in some days. I'm sure not all decisions are right. There's probably a lot of setbacks, a lot of failures, and there's probably enough people throwing pot shots at you saying, maybe behind your back sometimes and questioning what you're doing. How do you get through those type of things? Has there been any specific moments where you can relate to saying, oh my God, this was it? It was a tough moment. It was a near-death experience, whatever from an entrepreneurial world. And then what is it that you tell yourself and say, here's what I need to do?
So I think at the start of COVID, I think everyone was massively stressed. Whether can they deliver their services to their clients? Will the clients get what they need? Will they actually stay in business, particularly when we were having to deliver daily services to 10,000 asset managers in 40 or 50 countries? That pressure. And so the first sort of 6 weeks of COVID was like, can we do it? You go from the way we were communicating with clients previously to being able to be remote in a very short window. I thought, well, if my business is going to fail, it won't be because of my lack of effort. Okay. So for the March of 2020, I was in the office 4 a.m. every single day. April, 4 a.m. every day. May, 5 a.m. every day. So I knew that actually if it did go wrong, I wouldn't blame myself for lack of commitment.
I think that's a good ethos, I think, for all of us to kind of at least follow, to say, whatever you need to do, just do that stuff. If it did fail, at least you know that it was not for lack of trying. So I think that's a damn good ethos. And I would imagine that's what carries you through the tough days.
Yeah, it's commitment, obviously. It's grit and commitment.
Commitment.
But I'm the first in the office every day. I send more emails than anyone else in the company every day. So
how does that make your employees feel? It's like a CEO working like.
I mean, Sanjay's looking pretty upset about that. But, no, it's setting the bar high, setting the pace high, and seeing who can keep up.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about kind of, we touched on the top word purpose, but I'm going to kind of take it a little bit differently, right? I mean, there's when you look at Apex, for example, I mean, you use a couple of words in your value statement which actually struck out for me. You use words like care and respect, which is very, very unique for a financial company, in New York City, to be talking about care and respect in your values and other stuff. I'm sure those are well thought out reasons why you have those words in there. I want you to talk to me a little bit about what does that mean for you personally? I mean, of course, in an institution context, if you will. And why is it that you want 13,000 employees to think about those two words, care and respect?
Well, I think certainly, we're in a tough industry, and you want people to be on the journey with you, and not just for their pay packets. They want to be aligned to a business which is trying to give back and do the right thing. So it's not just about care for your staff; it's care for the community you're in. It's the CSR programs. It's our Apex Foundation. So people need to attach to more than just the pay packet. And then the same thing with respect. People need to be earning respect every day from their colleagues, and I think that's very important. People lose sight of the fact that actually people just think respect is given if you've got a certain title.
Yep.
But actually, no, you've got to earn that respect and have your team members see you demonstrating that you're going further and being a good mentor and role model to them as well. So there are a couple of key things, but yeah, as we're evolving, moving forward to next year, I want the business to be thinking about, well, actually, there's 4 pillars. One is really the ethical way we run our business. 2 is how we look after our customers. 3 is how we look after our staff. And then 4 is actually our financial performance. And I think personally, my investors won't think this, but I think it's equally measured.
That's true.
And if I can build a business where that you've got 25% is just about the financial metrics, and 25% is about how your team is looked after, and 25% is how your clients are looked after, and then the rest is about how you're looking after communities and the environment, that's certainly a legacy I want to be proud of in trying to sort of disrupt how people have traditionally thought about running big businesses.
Peter, in your experience, have you seen these first 3 pillars actually impact the 4th pillar of financial performance? Have you seen that actually in action do that?
Yeah, of course, it does all connect. And the happier your team is, the more effort they'll put into making sure the clients are happy. And then connected to happy clients means better results. The one that isn't directly connected, obviously, is more of the ethical one and what you're trying to do, give back to the planet and other broader things. But then that probably connects to making sure staff are on the journey and are connected to the story.
So can you think about a certain set of qualities that as you look at this care, respect, and all of the stuff that you talked about, can you think about any sort of qualities that an entrepreneur should have today, which may have been different from what you needed to have, let's say, 20 years back when you started the company? And what's changed that landscape, if you will?
Well, I think it's cultural understanding. I left England when I was 26, moved to Bermuda, which is a very cosmopolitan, diverse place to live. And you've got to treat everyone differently in the right way. So if I'd just been English, I would have said, well, this is how it works in Australia or India or anywhere else. It's not the case. You've got to be respectful for different cultures and how to motivate people in different ways. So that's the key thing I've learned is to make sure that you adjust your model to be respectful for the people who are working within your firm. I think we've got 134 different nationalities working within Apex.
Wow. So you yourself have gone through a lot of things in your personal journey, right? I mean, you grew up in Ireland, moved to England, London, I believe, and then you moved to Bermuda. From there, you moved to the United States. I mean, there's a lot of personal transformation that you're going through in this stuff. How has this shaped who you are and shaped Apex into what it is as a company?
That's probably the hardest question you've given me, actually. So I'm just busy running hard. I haven't had a chance to look back and say, well, actually, how has that all affected it? I've got a great wife and a great family, and I try and have a balanced work-life balance, but it's really not balanced yet. But I'm working at that. So actually, being in Bermuda is a great place where actually you can work 12, 13, 14-hour days and still see your children and have that balance. So it's a good base to be where I'm spending most of my time.
So that's great. So let me kind of ask a couple of more questions. As you kind of try to delve into your entrepreneurial spirit, if you will. So there's probably a lot of commitment that you made to yourself when you started this company, saying, here's what I'm going to do. This is the commitment. Can you think of any of those commitments that don't stand good anymore? I mean, you said, oh, wait a minute. No, that was my younger self which made some foolish stuff. It didn't even matter at that point. Can you think of those type of things? Because a lot of the people in the audience are probably sitting there in that moment right now. So what is it that you can share about that?
Yeah, I think it's certainly understanding the importance of EDI, and how that's evolved, and as I've grown up, and I've understood the value of that and how that connects to ESG. We have a very strong ESG business within Apex, so making sure we walk the walk along the way is really critical. So I'm on our EDI committee, and I think that's really important for us to be able to sort of even be a leader in terms of how we're thinking about that in sort of certainly the financial community, because we've forgotten about, and so we're putting that forward and first, and I sort of recognize that maybe 3 or 4 years too late in hindsight, but we've got it right now.
Okay. Is there a talent of yours that you had, let's say when you started this company, that you sit there and say, I don't use this anymore?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think my talent is just being average at lots of things. So
I think you're being too humble. That's probably your superpower.
I do say it's a talent. So if you take sports as an example, I can play every sport to an average level, but I'm not very good at any of them. So I think the same thing works when you're running.
So it's funny. Let me just double click on that, Peter. Is kind of being good at many different things so underrated that you actually need to have that to have that perspective and to be successful in this? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, I think that's applies to the business as well. I can do every person's job in the company to a pretty good level, but I can't excel particularly at any of them. So you're understanding what they're doing, you can empathize with what they need, you can put yourself in their seats, imagining their day. And I think as a leader, that's a pretty powerful thing to be able to do, whereas most people don't have that skill to be able to say, well, actually, that's a fund accountant doing that, or that's someone in sales doing that. That picturing of what they're doing each day and what makes them thrive is actually quite helpful.
Got it. Is there any decision about Apex that you've kind of made that you just keep postponing? Is there anything that you sit there and say, I needed to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, but you just keep... Is there anything like that you can share?
Well, it's stepping down from being CEO, I guess. I thought about doing that 10 years ago, and we're still here.
I don't think your board's too happy to hear that.
No, they're keen to keep me in my place. But no, I think that is the hard thing is when you're running hard and you're on this sort of hamster wheel maybe, or treadmill, and you're achieving good things and you're doing the right thing, you're building a good business. It's like, well, how do you stop?
A good turn deserves another good turn.
Yeah, exactly. And I keep looking 5 years ahead and what could the company be doing and the value it could be bringing and the new products it could be bringing forward and the value of those. So, I think certainly always keep looking forward, and then you wonder, where do you get off the bus?
That's right. If you imagine that there's a Peter standing here who's 25-year-old, 26-year-old, and you have a chance to go back in time and give that Peter an advice, what would that advice be?
I would say have people more confident in terms of my own skills then. It's taken me a while to get that confidence. But, I think stepping forward and being braver earlier, I think would have been a good outcome. And having that confidence to be able to deliver in a determined way younger would have been a better thing.
So effectively, you think that extra decisions that you could have taken earlier would have kind of helped you go further? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I would have started earlier, so so the business hopefully would have been bigger. But I could have started 5 years earlier if I was more confident.
Got it. If there is one decision that you made all through your last career, if you will, whether it's going and joining KPMG, moving to Bermuda, moving to United States, whatever it is that, or about Apex, if there's one thing that you said, you know what, I wish I could have done this differently, what would that be?
My worst talent is trusting people, and I always want to give people a chance. So I hire people. I'm the worst interviewer ever. So that's the thing I sort of should be better at is to be more disciplined about how I interview people, and I give everyone a chance. And some flourish and some don't make it, but I want to give people a chance.
But is that something that you would change, or is that a strength?
It's a weakness. Something I should be better at. In terms of having more discipline. But other than that, I want to give people a chance, and I see the best in people, and that's also a good thing.
Got it. So if you had, let's just say a fairy shows up in front of you and waves a magic wand and says, Peter, you're going to get one wish, and I'll just grant that wish for you. What would that be that you'd ask for?
One wish.
Only one wish. You get only one wish. That one wish can be, I want 5 wishes.
I'm passionate about the sort of foundation we have and the goals it stands for, which is climate change, women's empowerment, and education. And it would be to protect the planet in a better way for future generations, which is really what concerns me and for my children and their children. So if I had one wish, that would be to make sure the planet was how it should be.
I want to just say thank you for opening the window a little bit about your own journey, personal journey, your entrepreneurial journey. And look, like I started saying that Apex is kind of an amazing company, and you're probably one of the 2 CEOs out there who has actually built a company to this size, still kind of running it from the helm. Of course, I know you want to probably leave and do stuff and probably play or whatever it is, but I don't think anybody's going to let you. But we truly appreciate you taking the time to be here and sharing that journey with us, and also sharing some personal insights about what went through your own entrepreneurial journey. The last question that I have for you is, there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are kind of trying to start where you were in 2003. What is the one piece of advice that you would tell everybody saying, do this?
Be humble, be low-key, be driven, determined, and have a vision to set the sights as high as you can go. If you aim at mid-level and you miss, you're okay. But if you aim for the stars and you just miss, you've got an incredible journey. So, but do that in a modest, humble, low-key way, and that will guarantee, give you the best chance for success.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you.